messages.
You can't silence them.
I did silence this here.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Restoration Success Show. Today we have one Tom Plumber with us. We have Leah and Alvaro. How you guys doing today?
Hey, how's it going?
Doing great. How are you today?
Doing well. So we'll start off. Just tell us a little bit more about One Tom Plumber and the services that you guys do.
So One Tom Plumber is an emergency service plumbing company. We do service plumbing only, so not new construction or remodel work, but we do service work. So if it's broken, we fix it. We do a lot of drain cleaning, hydrojetting, excavation, spot repairs, things of that nature.
Awesome. Well, and one thing you guys do, and one of the main reasons I got you on here, you do restoration as well, correct?
So a little misconception there. We actually don't do restoration through One Tom Plumber.
Okay.
What we do is we have One Tom Plumber franchises that we sell to restoration owners, because obviously water mitigation and plumbing go hand in hand. Most water losses are a result of a plumbing issue, whether it's a backed up floor drain or a toilet supply line that broke or an overflow, something of that nature. So restorers are constantly, trying to figure out how to grow their mitigation business, and they're often looking for leads from plumbing companies. And so rather than paying those plumber referral fees for those leads, they can actually create their own plumbing business and deliver their own leads straight to their restoration.
Absolutely. And what we follow is the bolt-on system. So the plumbing, the One Tom Plumber is being a bolt-on to the restoration that can be run through their restoration company. And now, because when there's a water problem, the first one that they call is a plumber. So by having the One Tom Plumber, they now control the lead, and that gets referred to their sister company, which is the restoration business.
Yeah, I mean, and it turns into another revenue stream, basically.
Yeah.
Well, right? Like I love that, because I look at it similar too, because not all of restoration companies do mold removal or whatever, but plumbing is, I call it it's high volume, lower ticket than the restoration side of things, right? Because I think one problem in the industry is, you could get 5 jobs in a day, but then it could be quiet for 2 or 3 weeks because there's just no houses flooding or catching on fire, right? So that's why some of our guys will do mold removal, because mold removal is also higher volume, lower ticket. But another strategy, which I think, One Tom Plumber was based on this, is like there's a lot of plumbing issues happening all day, every day. And a lot of those issues need MIT done and then restoration done, right? So they definitely go hand in hand for sure. What, do you guys have any thoughts, like, because some of our listeners, won't have, a licensed plumber on staff, or they're just, they might be restoration only, right? Mm-hmm. Do you have any strategies or foot in the door for them getting more plumbing referrals from plumbers?
So, to be perfectly honest, it's what we train and teach them is to bring in their own master plumber to run their plumbing franchise. It's a very easy thing to get into. In order to have a One Tom Plumber franchise, you need a master plumber to carry that license. So you get licensed to be your own plumbing company. And then obviously just recruit some great talent to bring your own plumbers on board, and you train them. You train your plumbers, you train your dispatchers, you train everybody to not only perform for One Tom Plumber, but to deliver those leads over to the restoration company. So you'll want to train your dispatchers when they're answering the phone for that One Tom Plumber call, to listen for cues and ask the right questions to find out whether there is a mitigation opportunity available, so the dispatcher can go ahead and connect that customer and say, we'll go ahead and send our sister company out right away to take care of that water damage for you. So your dispatcher can be your first line of defense that helps generate that lead for you. But then if a plumber gets on site and they don't have a restoration company involved yet, then the plumber has that opportunity to say, hey, you guys got a lot of water here. We can bring our sister company out to take care of that for you.
And not only with the plumbers and the dispatchers, so well with the salespeople. Mm-hmm. One of the really cool things about the salespeople for One Tom Plumbers, they're now going into these commercial spaces, and these commercial buildings and property managers and whatnot, they are not used to see plumbing salespeople. So they walk in with a pink plunger. They have the dual logos, the dual branded shirts with One Ton Plumber and the restoration business in, and they go in and they're like, do you have any plumbing needs? And you'll be surprised how many people they are like, oh my gosh, I have a huge list of all these things I need to be done for my tenants. And can you get a plumber here within an hour? So now you're building that relationship with the commercial space. And that's your door kicker to get into that commercial water damage revenue that is going to get referred to your restoration business by those referrals you're making by just walking in selling plumbing.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I mean, to everybody listening, because a lot of restoration companies, I think they have a love-hate with the whole plumbing situation, because over the years, it's instead of paying, I mean, they might pay $1,200 for a lead from a,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've heard in some of these markets, LA, Miami, it might be $1,500. Like, it's just gone up. So to everybody listening, this would be a different approach to getting more lead volume and, work coming in. It's
Absolutely.
it's
And not
great.
only are they generating leads for the restoration company, but now they have a completely separate company with, that's generating another revenue stream, and it's extremely profitable. In fact, it's more profitable than water mitigation is, believe it or not, because we're doing service plumbing only. We're doing the high profit stuff, the things that you're in and out. And like you said earlier, it's a volume game. The tickets are lower, but the volume is much higher. So you
Yeah.
can easily exceed your restoration company revenue very quickly on the plumbing side of things.
Yeah.
And they're getting all like you mentioned, all those referrals. But one of the things that people may have this question is like, well, I'm getting a lot of referrals from plumbers already. I know I'm paying these high volume fees, but that's mostly part of my business. And they might be afraid of losing those relations. But it's the exact opposite. Actually, because we only do emergency service work, we don't do any remodel reconstructions, and we're a true 24-hour emergency service. So now we are referring those remodel reconstruction work that we're not doing. We refer those jobs to those plumbers that were giving us referrals previously. So we are maintaining those relationships. Even now, we're giving them revenue. So we maintain those relationships, even though people might be afraid with that, and we've heard that quite a few times. And it's never been an issue with plumbers, the referrals that were coming in previously.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think you guys put a lot of emphasis on commercial work, correct?
We
What's
do.
Yeah, like do you guys have, I mean, you don't have to get the entire playbook or whatever, but I mean, do you guys have a few strategies that you guys leverage to get in the door with, insurance companies, property managers, commercial
We do.
building owners?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like what Alvaro said just a minute ago. In the restoration space, most restorers will hire salespeople if they want to get into the commercial industry, the commercial market. And so, it's very competitive. I can speak from experience. I've been on the sales side for a restoration company for 12 years. And, I'm out there trying to market to universities, hospitals, multifamily, living, multi-tenant buildings, what have you. And I'm competing against 15 other restoration companies in the Cincinnati market. So how do I stand out? Why are they going to call my restoration company? So it is a difficult space for restorers to get into. But when you use One Tom Plumber as your door kicker, it changes the game, because there are no plumbing companies out there, or very few anyway, that actually have sales and marketing people on the plumbing side. So if you walk in the door with a pink plunger in your hand and you want to talk to a commercial property manager, first of all, they're going to look at you a little cross-eyed and funny and think, why are you walking in here with a pink plunger? But they're going to give you attention and time, and you're going to be able to talk to them about their plumbing needs. And you'll find out very quickly that their plumbing needs are huge. They have plumbers that they work with, but, they're not always readily available, or they're not available nights and weekends and holidays. So, it's a breath of fresh air for them, for you to walk in introducing a service plumbing company to them, as opposed to just a restoration company. So you can offer them both plumbing and restoration and be a one-stop shop for that customer. And that's what they love. So it's just way easier to grow your commercial business on the restoration side if you use One Tom Plumber to build that relationship and get in the door.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I think that's great. And, because we advise a lot of our clients to, property managers can be a great source, because I have a saying, like, instead of going, selling one to one, you're selling one to many.
Oh,
Some
yeah.
property managers might have 10,000 units, not one little house, 10,000. And then I love the one Tom Plumber approach, because it's like, all right, even if you get your foot in the door, water, fire, mold, like, yeah, they might have some issues, but remember, those are a little bit lower volume. But plumbing issues, like, there's always shower, toilet, you got 10,000 units, there's a very good chance that you would be needed sooner. There, that way you stay top of mind, you get your foot in the door, and then when that toilet's overflowing and the water's coming through the ceiling, hey, one time plumber can handle that as well. Like, just call them in, right?
Yep.
So the speed to like being able to get work from that, I imagine that helps big time.
Exactly. So when they call us and we respond immediately and we go to those places and they see that we get the job done in a timely manner, it's clean, it's professional. They don't see a wrench in a crack anymore. Like, they see a professional plumber going in with a bell, shirt tucked in, with a logo on the right hand side and on the sleeve, coming in with a pink plunger. So tenants are also seeing that. So they've seen a clean truck, which we're huge on branding. So they see the whole pink plunger brand that we have behind us, and they want to have those trucks outside their commercial space. The tenants see that, they love the trucks, they love everything we bring to the table, so it's a good look for them as well.
Yeah.
And once we have built those relationships and they have like 10-15 restoration companies that they want to call, they're like, what are we going to call the restoration company that is affiliated with One Ton Plumber?
Yeah. Yeah. And for everybody listening, I think something you guys have done well, that even if they're not a one-time plumber yet, or whatever, is the pink plunger, walking in with that's thinking outside the box, right? So everybody's walking in with donuts or consumable. It's like, all right, you don't want to do what everybody else is doing, right? So I love that. So everybody listening, like, you can think, hey, how can I differentiate myself from what everybody else is doing?
Right.
And something I talked to my team about this too, and I don't know if, I'm assuming, well, somebody thought through all this, is like, when it comes to gifting and just dropping stuff off, like, I mean, donuts, chocolate, whatever, right? Fruit basket, that's a consumable gift, right? And everybody loves that, but
it
they
doesn't
sit
last.
there. Exactly. That's my point. It's gone that day, and then what's left behind to remind them? I mean, this pink plunger is going to be there somewhere. They're going to see it and be like, oh, you know what? That tenant did just call about the toilet issue. You know what I mean? So coming up with stuff that's not a consumable that can be left behind, I think is a great.
And you would not believe the response we get when we walk in with plungers. I mean, you usually walk in the door with one plunger and you've got 5 people in the office and they're fighting over it. They're like, can I get one? Can I get one? So it's really comical, to be honest, how everybody fights over these pink plungers, because it is such a unique novelty. And every time you go back and visit that same customer, you will see the plunger in their office somewhere.
Or where we go to trade shows as well. Like, everyone's just coming to see us because they're like, do you guys have some like poop pink emojis, or do you guys have some pink plungers? Like, they want some of the marketing materials that we have. And we love seeing that, how everybody loves the brand, they love the pink, and they're super involved with it.
Yeah. And I think for our listeners too, because I mean, you don't have to like choose pink as your color, but another thing I think y'all have done well is like the pink pops, right? Like I said, it's one of the first things I said to you guys. I mean, I love it. Like, you can't help but notice it, right? So when it comes, because a lot of our clients are, restoration companies are thinking about rebranding, or they need to level up their branding, and I think that's just one thing you guys have done. Is like, again, everybody just has a van that says AB Restoration on it. It's like, I mean, you don't, but you see a pink van or truck driving down the road, like it's going to grab your eye, right?
It does grab your eye. And the other thing too, I mean, part of the reason that we chose pink as our color is because we did a lot of market research, and we found out that 86% of all plumbing calls come in from a woman. So whether it's a female of the household who's tired of her waiting on her husband to fix that plumbing problem, or it's a female in property management, multifamily housing. There's a lot of women in that industry that are property managers. So the pink, it speaks to them. It's a disarming color. It makes people feel comfortable and relaxed. And, it just kind of screams safety, if you will, to women. So it is one of the reasons we chose that color. I mean, it stands out. It's bright. It's unique. It's different, but it does speak to women.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I love how you did the market research to kind of, instead of just picking a color and moving on, like you're like, hey, let's think through this. So let's shift gears a little bit. So as far as, for new franchisees, like give a little bit of like, what does your like onboarding process look like, or how do you guys help, new franchisees get launched and get going, right? Because I mean, we all know on here, like, it's not home service industry as a whole is a great businesses to be in. But then again, over the years I've noticed, I think some people also don't quite realize what they're getting into. Like this is not for, I always say it's blood, sweat, and tears in the beginning, like really. But I'm sure you guys have systems and playbooks and processes in place to make it way easier to increase the likelihood of success, growing, scaling, et cetera, right? So can you touch on that for a second?
Absolutely. I mean, don't get us wrong. You're starting a business. It's hard, right? You're going to put sweat and tears into it.
Yeah.
We took the better part of three years perfecting this business, putting systems and processes in place, doing all the legwork and figuring out what works and what doesn't so that we could go to market with a proven system. So it's a very turnkey system. We train every employee that you hire. So your ops manager, your dispatchers, your salespeople, your plumbers, train them on the One Tom Plumber way, not necessarily how to do plumbing. You need to hire some experienced plumbers, but we're very involved in that. We understand that our fortunes are tied together. So we want your One Tom Plumber business to be successful. So we're vested in training your people up, giving them the tools and the support that they need. So we train everybody here in Cincinnati. We come to your market for training. We offer ongoing support, roundtables, monthly for the ops managers, for the owners, for the dispatchers.
Regional meetings, national conventions, a bunch abroad of networking opportunities for all the owners to meet together and share ideas. So it's a big family that everyone's been part of and super proactive and trying to toss ideas to other people, challenge them, and have this healthy competition and getting better, as well as doing all the marketing in-house for them. It's one of the things that we want to focus on. And actually the franchise development team to try to get all these franchises came after us trying to get teams in place with franchise business coaching and marketing teams to help the existing locations. We want to focus and make sure that these locations are being successful, and we want to provide as many tools and resources to them to ensure their achievements in order to be successful. Because one of the reasons Rocky, I don't know if he mentioned these before, he used to own 3 of the franchise. And when he bought in, he was like, well, I'm not really getting the support. He's got the name. I'm not really getting much from it. Like, if I ever become a franchisor, how can I change that? So that's why Rocky and Cameron wanted to be huge on support and giving these people the tools that they needed to be successful.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, that's one good thing. I mean, there's many benefits, but one thing about going the franchise route is like there's incentives in place for the franchisees to crush it. It's good, it's good for the franchisor and the franchisee. It's like, hey, you win, we all win, right? So I like the alignment there. Do you advise your new franchisees to look at both online and offline marketing and lead generation channels?
Absolutely. I mean, it's imperative. In fact, part of our business model is that they hire salespeople. There are some stores out there that don't even have salespeople on their team. They're relying on just the digital marketing piece. And, we're a big believer in, if you really want to get into that commercial market space, you've got to have boots on the ground. So part of our business model is that they have at least one salesperson on their team that can go out there and do that B2B marketing and develop those relationships. But the beautiful thing is they're not doing it just for One Tom Plumber. They're doing it for the restoration company as well. So that one salesperson gets to sell 2 products and brand 2 products constantly. So, we rely heavily on that to get into the commercial space. And then our digital marketing piece is driven or drives our residential business.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's kind of what because, we focus on the digital side, but we kind of have a consultative approach with our clients, and it's like, hey, like we don't necessarily do this, but our biggest, most successful clients, it's like I always say, it's not either or, it's both. Like, why not do both? Because I mean, you have to have, especially in the restoration side of things, like, I call them fishing poles for simplicity, right? You want to put multiple poles in the water because on the restoration side, it's lower volume. So one way to combat that is get more referral relationships, make sure all your online fishing poles are in place, right? So it's like,
absolutely.
And yeah, I'm actually surprised on how many restoration companies don't have the business development salesperson on staff. A lot don't, to be honest,
right,
at all.
It is surprising, and and if they're okay with that, if they want to do just residential business, that works. If that's making them happy. But if you want to get into the commercial space, you've got to have people that are networking. There's so many organizations out there that they can belong to. There's a lot of community events to get involved in. There's organizations like BOMA, if you're familiar with that, Building Owners and Management Association. Have a salesperson that's getting involved in these organizations and making connections, and you can quickly grow your business, whether plumbing, restoration, or what have you, by your network. Use the people to ask for referrals. Start getting business out of one company and say, hey, I'm glad we're doing a great job for you. Do you have anybody else that we can go talk to? It's all about networking and expanding your reach.
If you ain't networking, you ain't working.
That's right.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think, a lot of people need to understand too, like, this isn't a 2-week thing. Like it takes consistency and reps over a period of time. And a lot of people honestly don't do it. Whenever I have conversations about, they're like, yeah, I mean, I made 10 calls, only 2 people answered, and then they never emailed me back. I'm like, that doesn't even count. Like, don't tell me, it's because that's actually what I did in a previous life. And I loved my old boss for it. And I mean, it was 100% commission too. So I was like, well, Jamie, if you want to eat, you better get out there. But he told me, I mean, again, I was the business development rep at that point, and it took me a good year to kind of, because again, commercial world, you're not just going to walk in there once and then they're going to feed you $1 million worth of work.
Nope.
But after a year of drop-ins, lunches, happy hours, golf, I got in. You can get in with 5 to 10 companies. I used to manage millions of work. Yeah. And again, but it took a year. I mean, it took a year though of that. That's what I'm saying. But again, would you do a year's worth of work to manage? Then I just had to maintain. I couldn't even handle. You know what I mean? I'm like 10 solid relationships with the right people, millions. But again, I think people also need to be reminded, like, again, this isn't a two-week process.
It isn't, and I think you're right. That's where some restorers probably, fail, if you will, is because they're like, all right, well, let's give this business development thing an idea. Let's hire a salesperson, and then they don't give it enough time. Like 3 months, 6 months down the road, they're like, oh, this person's not doing anything, and then they let them go. But you have to understand, like you said, that sales cycle is really long. Like, you're not just going to walk in and walk out with a job. I mean, you might get lucky enough to do it, but that's not an everyday occurrence.
But it takes a lot of time to build those relationships, because you've been doing that for many years.
Oh, yeah.
And they got to the point that you go to concerts with these people and then do some sort of networking events with them constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't get there in 3 months.
No, absolutely. I mean, I've built amazing relationships over the last 12 years that, I don't have to see them every day anymore. I've got that relationship, but it took many years to get there. But one of the nice things that will help your restorers, though, in their sales cycle is if they do have one Tom Plumber as part of their business model, and they have a sales rep going in and selling one Tom Plumber and restoration, you'll see it shortens that sales cycle because their plumbing needs are far greater, like we talked about.
Yeah.
They need every day. So if you're trying to build that relationship and you're not sure whether or not this customer is really going to send you work or not, a lot of times in the restoration side, they'll say, yeah, we'll use you the next time we have a flood. And, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months goes by and you haven't gotten a job from them. You start questioning whether they're just blowing the sunshine up your skirt or they're actually going to use you. But on the plumbing side, they really have those needs on a far greater basis. So it shortens the sales cycle, and you'll start seeing business right away from your business development reps. It only takes maybe 6 weeks.
Yeah. No, I love that. I never really thought about that until we discussed that earlier. I was like, wow, that's actually a huge benefit because yeah, like you said, the low volume thing can be frustrating sometimes, and like,
oh yeah,
especially if they don't do mold removal and it's just water and fire, or there's a lot of restoration companies are water only, right? Which can be great, but it's depending on your market size and what's going on and the weather patterns and all that, like it could just be a slow time of year, and then it's kind of like, well, then what? Right?
yeah.
I mean, that's nobody wants to be in that situation. So I think that's where,
it's hard to stay fully staffed and keep your team busy too.
No, yeah, that's a huge pain point and concern, especially for like the mid only guys. Is like, and that's where we're always like, you got to diversify your lead sources, period.
Yep.
Whether that be, and I think that's where, bolting on the plumbing aspect could be huge. Because again, I think, yeah, I mean, they go hand in hand. Like you said, the water issues come from some sort of plumbing,
Yep.
I mean, yes, it could be a roof leak and all that, storm damage. I mean, yeah, there's other things that come into play, but we all know there's a lot of plumbing issues all day, every day.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So if somebody wanted to learn more about One Time Plumber and, potentially, inquire about becoming a franchisee, what's the easiest way to go about that?
So they can go to our website, onetoneplumber.com, and on the top hand right of the screen, they can go to franchise opportunities, or they can visit 1tpfranchise.com and send an inquiry, and then we'll reach out to them.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, guys, this has been a fun one. I appreciate your time, and everybody listening, onetimeplumber.com, or just Google One Time Plumber. I'm sure the website, social media profiles will pop up. Navigate your way to the website and reach out to them if that's something you want to look more into. And until next time, everybody have a good rest of the day.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jamie. It was a pleasure spending time with you.
We appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, no problem. You're welcome.